It's perhaps the most polarizing topic in the world of health and wellness today. What are human beings truly designed to eat? That's what we're diving into today. But before we get started, if you're enjoying this content, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. It really helps me out. And leave me a comment as well. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm just giving you my best assessment based on my own experience and my current level of understanding. And so I would love to hear your perspective, your experience. Let me know down below. All right, now, if we look to nature, if we look to the animal kingdom, no species is as confused or as divided as human beings when it comes to diet. Animals just eat what they're supposed to eat. A fish eats what a fish eats. A lion eats what a lion is supposed to eat. And as a result of these animals living the lifestyle that they're designed to, eating their native diet, we see no chronic illness, no chronic disease or suffering to the degree that we find it in human society. There's no cancers, there's no diabetes, no dementia, neurodegenerative conditions, autoimmune conditions. We just don't see it because animals know instinctively how they're supposed to live and what they're supposed to consume. And if you ask me, the greatest indicator of what a particular species is supposed to eat is found in the anatomy and the physiology. For the most part, if you look around in nature, if you look at the different animals, and you start to examine things like tooth structure, jaw structure, the length and structure of the gastrointestinal tract, the pH of different body fluids like hydrochloric acid, saliva, sweat. If you start to look at all of these biological tells, you can pretty much predict, just from looking at an animal, exactly what it's supposed to eat. And so that begs the question then, what are we? What are human beings? And there's a lot of people who will say, we're predators, we're the apex predator of the animal kingdom. We eat meat, and our ancestors have eaten meat for thousands of years. And yes, we have eaten meat for thousands of years. But what I would like to propose is that the only reason we became predators and meat eaters is because, one, we mastered fire, and so our brains started to grow rapidly. But two, because we mastered the use of our opposing thumbs, and we learned to build tools that we could use to hunt and kill animals. But if you look at the native physiology and anatomy of a human being, it starts to become very clear that we weren't designed to be predators. We weren't designed to eat other animals. True predators, the cats and the canines, they have massive fangs, teeth meant for killing. Their jaws are designed to pretty much open and close in one direction to smash their prey and swallow it whole. Their digestive tract is very, very short, but it's very highly acidic, so they digest food very fast. They have black and white vision. They don't need colors to discern ripe fruits or vegetables. They live a very different lifestyle. They sleep pretty much the whole day, whereas humans are designed to operate with the sun and be awake for most of the time. And so it starts to become clear that we are kind of polar opposite in every single way from the true meat eaters. I would say that if every human who ate meat was responsible for going out every night and catching their prey with their hands, butchering it, bringing it back for dinner, I can assure you that there wouldn't be many human beings eating meat. And true meat eaters, they don't go for the ribeye, they don't go for the filet, the lean meat, and bring it home to sear on their gas grill. True meat eaters, if you watch when they make a kill, they go directly for the guts, straight for the intestines, the organ meats. They dive straight in. They got warm blood and juices and hot bowels from the intestines spraying all over their face, and they love it. If human beings were true predatory animals, then that visual should get us salivating. It should make us hungry, and I don't know many human beings who are turned on by diving their head straight into an animal carcass and consuming the bowels of that animal. Um, I know that when I first started to recognize that my body was no longer tolerating meat, I didn't think it could be done. I'd been programmed my whole life, especially as an athlete, that if you want to build muscle, you have to eat protein. Um, and truthfully, I really believed to the core of my being at that time of my life that there was no way to live on a plant-based diet. I thought vegans were kind of the root of all the problems that humanity experienced, if I'm going to come clean with you. But the thing that really convinced me that this sort of thing could be done, a plant-based diet, a raw diet, a more fruit-centered diet, is by looking at something called the frugivore chart. And you can go online and you could look this up for yourself. It's very, very fascinating, but it basically compares human beings with the anatomy and the physiology of all the different classes of animals. Everything from the true carnivores to omnivores, the mixed eaters, to plant eaters and fruit eaters, the frugivores. And when you look at the spectrum of all of our different bodily functions and how the human body is truly built, it is so clear that nature intended for us to be frugivores, mainly fruit eaters. We're closest to the fruit-eating monkeys who eat fruits, small amounts of nuts, and leafy greens. And so this, I believe, is our original blueprint, our original design. But I think as a species, we find ourselves in quite a dilemma right now. Because while we may have originally been designed as fruit eaters, we have been eating meat for thousands of years. We've been degenerating, devolving for these generations after generations. And so, in a lot of ways, the human body is now dependent on meat for its function and its survival. And this is not unlike any sort of drug or narcotic. You can, like if I were to go up to a druggie on the street and say, I could tell him, hey, buddy, I know how to help you. I know what will make you healthy. Stop doing your drugs. But if I withdrew his drugs all at once, there's a good chance that person would die. And it's not because the drugs were naturally good for them, it's because the body had adapted to become dependent on this drug for its survival, for its normal function. And in my estimation, this is what's happened with human beings and meat, where if you make a change too drastically, it ends up being detrimental to the organism. And so you'll see a lot of people who will go to this fruit diet right away, or they'll do these really long extended fasts, 40 days, water fast, dry fast, juice fast, and some people will die from it. A lot of people, if they don't die, will just start to feel really, really bad. And this is when most people quit. And when the diet is blamed, people will say those people died because they weren't getting enough nutrients. They died because of the plant compounds killed them. They died because this diet isn't right for human beings, that what they should have been doing is eating meat. But what's actually happening here, I believe, is that when you go to this diet or when you go to a fast, the body actually starts to clean itself and detoxify, to purge itself from all the toxins and the poisons that have accumulated in our body over a lifetime. And so it starts to clean out and dump all these toxins back into the bloodstream so they could be processed by the kidneys, the liver, excreted through the bowels. And if you do this transition irresponsibly, if you do it too fast, what happens is you basically die from your own toxicity. You drown in your body's own poisons. And this is when the diet gets blamed, when people blame the plant-based diet, when I think this couldn't be further from the truth. It actually is triggering a deep level of cellular healing. And so I think this is why a lot of people seem to do very well on a carnivore or a carnivore-ish type animal-based diet, is because human beings have become so maladaptive in a lot of ways to the way that we're originally meant to function. It's kind of like that drug addict getting a hit of the drug. It's very stimulating. You feel good when you ingest those sort of things. You get that hit of energy, that vigor and that vitality. And so one of the other things that I always found really interesting is why do both the carnivore and the raw vegan, fruitarian camps seem to do really well, or at least better than the average population? And my best theory is that both carnivore and raw vegan are kind of at the opposite ends of the spectrum. And by being at the opposite ends of the spectrum, what they're doing, knowingly or unknowingly, is they're eliminating all the mistakes that the majority of the population is making. So they're not consuming refined sugars, inflammatory seed oils, artificial processed foods, preservatives, a lot of pesticides, food colorings, dyes, all these things. They're not making mistakes with the inflammatory foods, the grains and starches that cause a lot of problems and obstructions. And so both sides are eliminating all these mistakes that cause most of humanity a huge amount of trouble and cause a lot of disease. And so you could look at either side and say, you know what, they both look pretty healthy. And I think this is what the case is. Now, a lot of people will feel really good going to mostly an animal-based diet of meats and eggs and raw milk, maybe some honey and fruits. And if you feel good with this, that's awesome. I think it's great. I respect anybody who's taking steps to make conscious decisions about their health. And I think when it comes down to it, it just comes down to individual goals. Everybody has different goals and aims. And so health, the word health kind of means something different to every person. Some people just want to be, they just want to have the energy to get through their day basically without consuming an energy drink every 2 hours. And that to some people is healthy. If you're not sick and in the hospital and you could get up every day and just make it by, that's health to some people. For me personally, I'm more interested in exploring the full extent of our human potential. And this is why I am so drawn to returning to this original human blueprint, the original human diet, and living the way that nature intended for us to live. And you can look at pioneers in this field, people like Arnold Ehret, who's considered the father of naturopathy. You can look at modern contemporaries, people like Dr. Morse. And these people have basically healed, or they continue to heal, almost every imaginable disease through this protocol of a fruit-based, mucus-free diet combined with fasting and sometimes herbs or things like enemas and colonics. You can read their literature. It's fascinating to see what's truly possible and what they've experienced. You can listen to people who are on this journey, who have done it, who have healed, and what they will tell you is that when your body becomes clean, like truly clean, and your body chemistry starts to shift back to the original human design, when we eliminate all of these toxins and poisons and stimulants, we are capable of some really, really incredible things that would be considered superhuman and supernatural today. We can cut ourselves and injure ourselves, and it will heal without bleeding, without inflammation, without pain, when the blood is really truly clean and working the way it should. You won't get sick. Disease basically is not possible in this sort of cleansed and alkaline body. You will have the ability to do these superhuman feats of endurance and physical strength. Women and their reproductive health, it's many women will attest to this, that they will ovulate in a healthy way, but they won't menstruate. They won't get a heavy bleed. They won't get the typical symptoms that are typically, associated with the monthly cycles that women experience. You can look at people like Brother Air is pretty well known, going months and months, almost a year, without food. Things that we've been conditioned to believe are not possible. And I think that some of the things that we've normalized in our human society is just the normal, pain and suffering that we must endure is not really normal at all. Maybe what we consider healthy is actually a very pathological and degenerated state. And so that's what I'm interested in, is what are we truly capable of? What is really possible if we realign ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually? Now, keep in mind that this whole transition process off of this unnatural lifestyle back to a natural lifestyle, it does need to be done very responsibly and sustainably, because if you think about it, we're really undoing generations, thousands of generations of maladaptive behaviors and ways of living. And plus, if you're like me, it's decades of poor eating of a standard American diet in this lifetime too. And so we have to undo all those things, and we have to experience the negative consequences of all the poor decisions we've made over the course of our life. One of the things I've been experiencing right now is Arnold Ehret, in his works, he'll say one of the last things to clear from the body is pharmaceutical drugs, because they never really leave the body until we make this certain amount of progress in this clean diet, and only then will drugs start to re-enter circulation so they can be cleared from the body. And this has been something that I've been experiencing right now. Something that I've become aware of is I was on a lot of drugs for my health problems my whole life, and had a lot of side effects. They altered my personality, my thinking, my energy, and so I've kind of been feeling these side effects, because side effects are not really, they're not side effects, they're direct effects. They're just the effects that we don't really want to admit or talk about. And so when these drugs re-enter your circulation, you are going to experience all the detrimental effects that these drugs really had on your body's chemistry. And so I'm going through this right now. I want to be honest with you guys about what I'm experiencing and what challenges that I'm working through right now. And it's anyone who's been through this can say it's not an easy process. You feel very lethargic and tired at times. Your body is recalibrating. Your electrical system is rebooting. You're in this constant state of detox and cleaning. It feels like you're sick and unwell a lot of the time. It's the same thing as a cold. This is what a cold is your body cleaning itself out. And so, yeah, this transition process, it's difficult. From what I've heard, it takes anything from a couple years to a couple decades, depending on where your starting point is. And in Arnold Ehret's philosophy, he basically said that we are having to, quote, atone for our sins and the sins of our ancestors. Basically, that we have to experience the negative consequences of the poor decisions that we've made for generations and generations. And so basically, you can atone for this now through the transition period by being proactive about your health, or you end up paying for it and atoning for it later, experiencing the gradual decline in health as you age, deterioration in your later years, dying strapped to IVs in a hospital bed. And so personally, I would much rather do this proactively and see how far I can make it in my lifetime, and really just take this risk and go for it now to up-level my health to a whole new level, rather than experience this decline that we have come to normalize in our human society. And so who knows how far we're going to get. We are trying to undo so much, and maybe we'll be able to make it to this unimaginable level in our lifetime. Maybe we won't. And if you are on this journey right now, I would just like to encourage you that if it's difficult, if it's hard, if you want to quit, I want to encourage you to keep going, keep moving forward. This is a huge task. Healing is a full-time job, and so don't give up. There are many, many others out there who are undertaking this journey. Maybe you are not really on board with this. Maybe you're just starting to explore the world of health and become curious about human diet. Maybe you don't agree with me and my assessment at all, and that's great. But what I would encourage is that you just start to ask questions, to open to the possibility that maybe what we've been taught about nutrition and health is wrong and misinformed. Truly, one of the things that I've found interesting is to truly dig and do the research to see where all of these theories actually came from. If you start to look back to the time when we started to develop things like the calorie theory, protein theory, even vitamin theory, and things like B12 deficiency, if you really start to look back to the origins of these studies, you'll find that a lot of them came over a century ago, and many of these experiments were done extremely unethically. They were done on starving, anemic dogs in the lab, and dogs, of course, we know their physiology is nothing like human beings, and we established these theories about how our bodies need certain things coming in order to function, about how we need a certain level of calories or vitamins, nutrition, when there was actually this whole other camp who opposed these theories, who said the human body is this self-sustaining, self-regenerating air gas machine that heals itself when put in the right environment, in the right conditions. And unfortunately, as we know, one side always wins out. And from then on, all the mistakes start to build on one another because each scientific discovery is built on the assumption that the previous discovery was correct. But we really have to go back to the very beginning of where these theories came from. And maybe if you are anything like myself, you've discovered in the past 4 years or so that when it comes to medicine and health, we really do need to ask questions about what we're being told, the stories, the solutions that they're trying to sell us, and to become aware that maybe what we've been taught is all, it's all bogus, it's all wrong. And so that's what I'm here to do more than anything, is to get you to start thinking for yourself, thinking independently, asking your own questions. If I could do that, in my mind, I'm successful. And so wherever you find yourself, what I would like to propose is that we're actually not doing this for ourselves. What we're doing this for is the next generation of humanity. This is for from here on out, for the next generation of our kids, the future leaders of our planet, and helping them to unlock the potential in their lives and to unlock the potential of the human species. Because I believe that if we can clean ourselves out, if we can clean our bodies out, become pure in body, mind, spirit, we will give birth to upgraded human beings with cleaner blood, with cleaner habits and tendencies and ways of thinking. And this is the direction that I really believe that humanity needs to go at this time, is to really up-level the species. Because if we continue on our current path, the reality is the future isn't too bright. And so it's really up to us to enact this change and to say, you know what, I'm going to start this right now. Maybe I haven't had kids yet, and I'm thinking about the future of all humanity, and this is hard. Upgrading my health is hard, but I'm committing right now to do this, to carry this forward for all the people on this planet and all the people who are yet to come. And so I really believe that when we take this leap of faith, as I talked about earlier, there are things that are possible, that are beyond our wildest imagination. In some of his literature, Arnold Ehret talks about pregnancy and raising a kid on this kind of diet. And he says when a clean mother and a clean father come together, they'll give birth to a kid that is unrecognizable to humanity. He says that things like the pain of pregnancy and childbirth should be non-existent. He says that babies, they don't cry because they're not in that sort of discomfort. They don't get sick. All these things that we've associated with just being normal parts of human life and childbirth, and the risks involved, all these things are because we live in a very degenerated sort of environment and society. And all of these things can disappear. We don't need to continue passing on these traumas to our children and our children's children. And so this is for humanity. And so if you would like to join me in this journey, I would just like to invite you in to be a part of this, and we can learn from each other and uplift one another, encourage each other on our journey. And so definitely feel free to check out some of my other videos and some of the free resources that I will link down below. If you'd like to work through this process with me one-on-one, I will put my coaching information down in the description below. Check that out on my website. I just want to thank you for taking the time to better yourself and invest in yourself, and for having the awareness and the open-mindedness to approach these sorts of topics. And so thanks so much for watching. I'll be back with more soon. I will see you then. Until then, have a great day.